remotely consistent with an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. The new law authorizes all members of a public body to continue participating in meetings remotely. The open meetings requirement that a quorum of the body and the chair be physically present at the meeting location remains suspended. For this meeting, the commission is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's web meeting calendar and the Conservation Commission agenda identifying how the public may join. Additionally, the meeting is also being broadcast by HCAM through its channels and platform. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Supporting materials that have been provided to members of the commission for this meeting are available on the town's website. The meeting will feature public comment after commission members and staff have discussed each project application on the agenda. The chair will open the discussion to public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak are asked to identify their name and address. 3 minutes will be afforded for each public comment. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted via roll call of the commission members. I'll now confirm members who are present. Let me just see who's in the waiting room here. Okay, Melissa,
Here.
Jim,
Here.
Ted,
Ted is present.
Ed,
Here.
Janine,
Here.
Kerry,
Here.
and this is Jeff. For staff that are present, Kim,
Present.
Anna,
Present.
and with Lucas Environmental, Joe.
Present.
All right. Okay, good. Just check the waiting room. Okay. All right, so Kim will jump in work session items, documents for review. We don't have any this week. The draft minutes for review for January 10th. There are a few of us that were not present at that meeting. That would be me, Ted, and Melissa, but for the other members, were you able to review those minutes and did they look good to you?
Yes, and
Yes.
yes.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of January 10th?
So
I'll make
moved.
the motion.
I'll
That was Jim that made the motion and who
Ted will
seconded?
second.
Okay, and we'll get the roll call vote. Melissa?
I guess maybe I'll abstain since I wasn't there.
Yep. Carrie?
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
Ted?
I will also abstain.
Ed?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I'll abstain. But we have a majority, so the motion passes. Okay, 178 Ash Street, we have a minor plan change request. Kim, do you want to go through this for us, please?
Sure, just give me a second to get this open.
Yep.
Okay, so this is a notice of intent for a single family home. What happened is the foundation was installed a little bit higher than originally planned. And so the applicant is requesting a minor plan change for a septic design and associated grading. The new design necessitates a 3-foot tall boulder retaining wall, which is located here, and then associated grading, which slopes at a 2-to-1 slope down to the erosion control barrier. So there's no additional incursion into the buffer zone. It's all within the previously approved limits of work, but we do have kind of that steeper slope down towards those limits of work at this point with that boulder wall.
Okay. So for now, it's the boulder wall that's being proposed, Kim, which I think seems reasonable based on site conditions that may change. But it's your recommendation to approve the minor plan change request.
Yeah, I would recommend approval. I guess I would just reiterate to the applicant that, the commission would like to see vegetation on that slope versus it turning into a riprap slope. Sometimes we end up seeing that happen because it's easier in the moment. But generally it's better for runoff if we are able to retain it as a vegetated slope.
Okay, that's a great recommendation. Is the applicant on the call?
I am here on behalf of the applicant. My name is Jamie Bissonette with Zenith Consulting Engineers.
Yes, good afternoon, or
Hi.
good evening, sir. Yeah.
Good evening.
So does that make sense to you? The commission would prefer, based on Kim's recommendation, vegetative versus kind of riprap for stabilization on the slope?
Sure, yeah, we left it open as far as the note is concerned on the plan. So if Kim and the commission would like for it to be vegetated, I don't see that as an issue.
Okay, great. I'll open it up to comments from the commission members. All right, no comment. Any comments from the audience? Or if I can get a motion to approve the minor plan change request
So moved.
and a second.
Zed, I'll second.
All right, Ed, and we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Ed,
Ted is an aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. College rock climbing request. So Kim, do you want to give the commission a little background on this request for the college rock climbing?
Sure, I can give a short brief, and then I think the requester is on the line, so I'll probably pass it over to him.
Sure.
But I received a request from Greater Boston Climbing School. I believe his name is Dan Vickers. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your last name. And he would like to hold rock climbing courses at the College Rock property. The College Rock property is owned by the Conservation Commission outright, and it does not have a conservation restriction on it. So with that, Dan, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Did you want to run through your presentation and I can kind of change the slides?
We can run through it quickly.
Okay.
My understanding is other places like REI are already working out here. So this should be something that most people are familiar with. So I'm not going to spend too much time going through all this information. But
So I do just want to, I know REI has done this in the past. I think it was like mid 2000s. So there's nobody currently holding classes out here, but I know that it has occurred in the past.
the REI website would disagree. There were 2 classes there last month.
Okay, well,
Interesting. Okay.
notwithstanding,
Thank you.
maybe there are classes that are being held out there that we're not aware of, but yeah, why don't you go forward with your presentation, Daniel? That'd be helpful.
You can proceed the slide. But yeah, my name is Dan Vickers. I'm the owner and head instructor of Greater Boston Climbing School. We do rock climbing education in the Greater Boston area. So we try to go for this idea of everywhere that's within an hour to an hour and a half drive of Boston we cover. And just a little info, we hire a lot of like local instructors. So we're all certified by the American Mountain Guide Association. We also all carry wilderness medical training and CPR training. And we're hoping to expand the areas that we can offer climbing to. And College Rock is a very obvious selection. Can you go to the next slide, please? So some of the things that we offer like private climbing. So this is just people come to us, they want to hire an instructor for a day, and we try and organize to have groups. So some of these are Boy Scouts of America come to get their climbing badge with us. Sometimes it's just birthday parties. And then we also offer courses. So all of our courses right now are offered at Quincy Quarries. You can see a course schedule for the 2023 spring that we're offering here. And this has number of slots is the number of climbers. And then you can see a frequency of about once a weekend. And we're hoping to move the intro to trad and possibly the advanced top rope course over to College Rock. At least maybe one of those. So 2 total courses, but you can see that the number of people we would bring would range 2 to 8 people. And you can see the distribution of like dates that we offer. Can you go to the next slide, please?
So those dates are at College Rock, is that correct?
These dates currently are all for Quincy Quarries.
Okay,
So we have permits at Quincy Quarries. We work with them right now. There are certain issues with something I'll talk about in a second on the next slide about something called trad climbing. But
Okay.
essentially you expect certain things out of the rock quality and the type of rock that Quincy Quarries is okay, but it's not very beginner friendly. So we're exploring other areas to get into trad at other locations. And College Rock offers that kind of rock quality and structure that we're looking for to teach that type of climbing. So that's exactly the slide. Trad climbing. So we have like a limited number of permits to another park, Pawtuckaway in New Hampshire, that we would prefer to not have to go so far for. But trad climbing is very hard to find the rock quality, and College Rock offers that for us. Otherwise, College Rock also is just very well rounded. I don't know if anyone paying attention has climbed there, but it has a very wide range in terms of style of climbing and diversity for such a small area. It's about 23 routes located at College Rock.
Yeah, what's the trad stands for top rope, what?
Trad is a traditional climbing. So
Traditional climbing, okay.
yeah,
So that's top
trad-
rope,
Trad is a leader placing pro. So top rope would be, have you ever been to a climbing gym? Are you familiar?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So top rope climbing would be the rope is set at an anchor above you. And then as
Right.
you climb, someone is pulling the slack in so that the rope stays tight. So you
Right.
can imagine if the rope's tight and you fall, you're only going to fall a few inches due to the rope like stretching a little bit. And those are very, very like safe structured falls. Trad climbing is a little different, which is as you climb the rock, you are placing protection into the rock as you go, which is why we look for specific types of rock to do trad climbing on. So you
Okay.
place specialized devices into certain types of features on the rock that
Yep,
would
got it.
catch you.
Got it, great, okay, thank you, just thanks for that clarification.
Okay. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. I think after I remove some of the redundant information. Yeah, that's pretty much everything. But yeah, we would like to go out there. I forwarded some information about our insurance and waivers already ahead of time. Our insurance meets the minimum requirements that we were told to expect, which is a total 2 million payout per year, 1 million per incident. And we would add the City of Hopkinton Conservation Commission as an additionally insured, which would grant you protection under our insurance policy.
Okay. So it's town of Hopkinton, not city, but that's great. So you guys wear helmets, right? I
Yeah.
assume-
Wearing helmets is required by our insurance.
Okay. And the certificate of insurance naming the town of Hopkinton as an additionally insured has already been submitted?
I've submitted it right now. I don't have that in front of me. I can show you an example of the additionally insured paperwork for Quincy Quarries, but we wouldn't go out there without having you confirmed. And you wouldn't grant us permits without being confirmed it's an additionally insured.
Yeah. Okay. So when are you looking to do the kind of initial climbs, and is it gonna like occur all summer, or is it,
So kind of talking about the trips that we offer, I would like to start offering 2 classes at College Rock for the first half of the season and the second half of the season. So 4 trips total throughout the year that are structured. And I would like a few additional permits so that if I get someone that comes to me with a private request, that we can go out and fulfill that. So hypothetically, if I'm talking to a few different Boy Scout troops right now about planning for the season, there's one in Hartford, Connecticut, and College Rock would be the closest place that we would offer to them. So it would be a likely place that maybe we would bring the Boy Scouts out there and do a Boy Scout climbing merit badge day,
Okay,
something like that.
okay. So Kim, it sounds like the insurance that Daniel has discussed meets the town's requirements. And so long as we get a certificate of insurance with the town as additionally insured, we're good to go. Is that correct?
I think from the town standpoint, from a legalese standpoint, yes.
Okay,
Actually, Jeff, I think it's the town of Hopkinton is the named insured, and the Conservation Commission is additional insured, additional named insured. So we're both on it because we're co-owners with the inhabitants, right?
yeah, that's a good
Exactly.
point, Jim. So maybe it should be the town of
There's
Hopkinton.
two entities, the town and us.
Yeah,
But I think the presenter said that though.
Yeah, I was given the exact name. Sorry, I'm digging through my email for it, but I was emailed it. Yeah, so the additional insured would be the town of Hopkinton, and then I have the address as 18 Main Street, Hopkinton, Mass.
okay.
That's the
Well,
information I forwarded to my insurance.
okay, so Jim was maybe suggesting that the town of Hopkinton should be, or excuse me, the Conservation Commission should be listed additionally, but we'll let the kind of town council
Yeah.
and Elaine determine
Yeah.
what's appropriate. It's kind
Yeah.
of outside the realm of our expertise.
I agree.
So Daniel, just one more question or suggestion, then I'll hand it off to other comments. Obviously, this is a resource area for the town. We want to make sure that, it's kept clean and there isn't litter and things like that left behind after, classes and things like that. I'm sure as a outdoor enthusiast, you're kind of on board with that and, that's your expectation as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I've been trained in leave no trace ethics, which I think is something superficial, but that's something we do. And I'm very vested in the local community. My business is sponsoring a crag cleanup for Quincy Quarries in like 2 weeks. We're very interested in keeping the crags clean. We want to have like a healthy relationship so that we're seen as a positive impact on the community and not someone causing problems.
Great. Okay, thank you. I'll open up to other comments and questions from the commission.
Through the chair, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Ted.
Daniel, I know nothing about climbing. My one try of doing it outdoors in New Hampshire was humiliating and embarrassing, and I've never gone back. But I think I know the answer, but I want to ask anyway. When you are doing trad climbing and inserting your own anchors, you're finding pre-existing cracks, right? You're not putting new holes in the rock or anything.
No, what you would be referring to would be bolting, which is not part of trad climbing. That's what we call sport leading, which typically you don't go out and just bolt on a day out. I don't know how to bolt. I've never bolted before. So yeah, we would just be using pre-existing features. So this involves slinging trees or natural horn-shaped features on the rock and then placing protection in cracks.
Okay, that's what I figured, especially when you mentioned leave no trace. After all, a hole in the rock would be a trace that's left.
Trad climbing developed out of the 60s after it was noticed that like pitons and bolting were destroying rock faces. So it's what's known as like the green climbing initiative or movement, which is the idea that you can remove the protection after you're done and no one should be able to tell that it was there.
Wonderful. I thought that was the case, but I wanted to ask to be sure. Thank you.
Through
So,
the chair,
Jim,
this
did I
is
just
Ed.
have,
Yep, Janine, go ahead, and then we'll
So I was just curious if sort of what we're agreeing to is sort of like, an open-ended perpetual sort of go use the property, or is it sort of like the set couple of classes? And just wondering sort of, if it's an open-ended and say for some reason we wanted it to say, hey, we don't want you guys doing this there anymore. Like we have the option to just stop?
Yeah, so that's a fantastic question. The way that is handled differs pretty much for every park. So there's a lot of ambiguity. In broad strokes, typically what happens is either I have an open application with the park and I can email someone and say, hey, I want to add this date to my list of permits. I would pay whatever the permit fee is for the day, and that would be added additionally. At any point, I can be rejected. Or at the start of the year, I would buy a limited number of permits. And so typically that number is limited to say 10 for the first year, so that like maximum I could go up to the park 10 times in that year. And you could give me fewer or give me more. We could agree on this beforehand, but essentially I would have a limited number and I would need to distribute this out. This is also why College Rock is good for me, which is I don't want to overload any of the other climbing areas that I have access to. And so it helps me distribute some of my work.
Okay, thank you.
To the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
First of all, I've done a little rock climbing. My daughter did a lot of rock climbing, so I am enthusiastic with your venture. That is not to say that I really know how to rock climb anymore, but that's beside the point. You say you climb at Quincy Quarries. Who would in essence be your landlord there?
The Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation is my liaison with Quincy Quarries. They also administer our permits to Hammond Pond.
Okay, so we could obviously go to DCR and ask for a reference and how things go, etc. And I guess my other question would be, would all your dates likely be on weekends? And how do you, assuming you have a date on a particular day and there's a bunch of people there already, I mean, I don't really know how. I've been to College Rock a few times, and I have seen occasionally a few people there, but I have no idea how busy and crazy it possibly could be on a weekend. And I guess I'm a little curious about that. And that will take care of me for the moment.
That's a fantastic question. Typically with services like this, once they get established in the area, they'll make local posts out into the community that people are aware of. So this helps them coordinate if they see a high traffic at a certain crag. Sometimes they'll redirect to a different area. College Rock has, as I said, around 21 or 23 routes, something like that. If you looked at the course sizes, there were 8 people as a maximum for some of our introductory top rope courses. And so if you have 8 people and you have 2 people belaying and 2 people climbing on each rope, that means that at most I'd be using 4 out of the 21 or 23 routes. So I would never be exceeding 20% of the capacity that College Rock has for climbing. I find it likely that I would find a way to accommodate that. There's also certain things that I was trained in as a certified instructor for building anchors in areas where they previously did not exist. So again, going back to trad climbing, I can use those pieces to build a separate top rope anchor that's not accessible to other people. So I can actually add additional ropes into areas that other people normally wouldn't have access to.
Yeah, to Ted's point, Daniel, it does get busy in the summertime, just so you know. But, I'm sure you can work around that. Okay, so I think what I want to suggest is if you can submit to Elaine and Kim your certificate of insurance with the town of Hopkinton listed as the additionally insured. If you can send us your your climbing certifications, so we have that on record. And then I think, Kim, we want to kind of touch base with Park and Rec to just kind of touch base with them to see if there's maybe you know, some type of fee, or, you know, that we're doing this kind of in accordance with, you know, what the precedent is for the town with having instructors come in on other town properties and, you know, doing programs like this, right? So I think, Daniel, if you can give us one more meeting, kind of to touch base on our end with other town, you know, Parks and Rec specifically, that would be, I think that's the direction we want to go on this, if that's okay.
That sounds good. I've been in contact with Jay and he's familiar with what we're doing, and I think he'll be
Okay,
able to-
perfect. Excellent. And what was Jay's feedback, if you don't mind us asking?
For them, so I initially had reached out to them because I had been under the incorrect understanding that the Department of Parks and Rec was actually overseeing College Rock. So I had given them a similar presentation. I've removed some slides there just to cover it, but basically none of them were familiar with how the process happened. And they were in the middle of figuring out exactly all the logistics when it came down the chain that I was supposed to be talking to you guys instead.
Got
So
it.
I think that they weren't really sure. Jay seemed enthusiastic about it, but just no one was sure what to be doing with climbing particularly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, no doubt we're enthusiastic about it. We're big proponents of getting kids outside and doing outdoor activities, you know, rather than playing on their phones and Xbox, that type of thing. We just want to be consistent in how these programs are being administered, you know, with Parks and Rec and with the Conservation Commission. So I think we'll have that all worked out by the next meeting. So if you can just give us another couple of weeks to figure that out.
You mean
and I
the
think
April
we-
11th meeting?
Yes, that is correct. April 11th.
Fantastic.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's much faster than I normally get word back. So you guys are doing very good.
Okay, Kim, does that work with you? Just, I don't want to,
Yeah, that'll work. I'll reach out to Parks and Rec. And we'll see if we can work out the kinks here and how we're supposed to move forward with the processes. And I will also close the loop with REI.
awesome.
I don't
have
mean to
one-
do anything with them. I just noticed that they had College Rock listed as a location for two of their March activities. So I wasn't sure. I thought that they might have already been in communication with you.
I get it. No worries.
Okay.
With
right,
that
so-
application, Jeff,
What's that,
quick
Melissa?
question, this is, do we want a proposal for how Daniel would request how many days, or how we're setting that up to answer kind of Janine's question?
Yeah, let's,
I mean,
let's,
if we want to get
let's-
a proposal from them, or do we want to get feedback from Parks and Rec? I don't know, but that needs to be determined right between now and
yeah,
then.
definitely. That's a good point, Melissa. And Janine brought up that question, which is a great question. And I think Kim and Jay can maybe, you know, think about that. Thinking maybe, you know, a 1-season permit, rather than just kind of open-ended, you can go whenever you want, or maybe a couple months, but I'll defer that to Kim's expertise and judgment.
Okay.
Does that sound okay, Melissa?
Mhm.
All right, and then one last question for you, Daniel. If, you know, Ted or others are so inclined to decide that they want to re-embark on their climbing journey, do they get a friends and family discount?
If that involves me getting permits at the end of it, I think we could work something out.
Well, we can't do that, but you know, that'd be a little unethical. But just that as a little joke on the side. Okay. All right, Daniel. So we'll see you on the 11th. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Okay, so we'll go to the new hearings. The Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 28th, 2023 at 7 o'clock, virtually online, to hear all persons interested in a request for determination of applicability filed by William and Nancy Baldiga to expand the deck. Location is 30 or 67 Oakhurst Road, Assessors map R28, block 104, lot 0. And Kim, I'm on another commission in town with Mr. Bodiga, so I'm gonna recuse myself and hand this off to Melissa.
So just to be clear, you're probably on that with our brother-in-law, Joe Baldiga. This is William Baldiga and Nancy Baldiga. So we are related to Joe, but this is not Joe.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
You can still
You're
recuse
okay.
yourself, but
Yeah, but just to be safe, I'll recuse myself and hand it off to Melissa anyways.
All right, thanks, Jeff. All right, Kim, do you want to give a briefing or should we let the applicants go through it?
Sure, I can give a very brief. So Mr. and Mrs. Baldiga are expanding their existing deck. You can see on the sketch here, there's going to be 3 new footings on helical piles. The reason why this was not an administrative approval is because it is within 50 feet of the edge of the lake. But otherwise is somewhat of a minor project. The bank to the lake in this instance is a retaining wall. The construction access is going to be from the driveway and then the side of the house over here. And then there's a temporary stockpile in this location. And Joe also completed a review out here. Joe, do you want to run through your comments briefly?
Sure. As Kim just noted, the retaining wall functions as the bank, the limit of the bank at the site, and the proposed work does occur within 50 feet of the bank. Just a couple of notes on the plan. Obviously, is not stamped, which may not be necessary for this level of project, but just want to point that out. There is a note that for a location of a soil stockpile, it wasn't clear to me what why a soil stockpile might be needed. Using the helical piers, I don't think there's going to be too much excavation, but if they do need a stockpile, maybe a little more information on what that is needed for.
On that, we were just asked to put one, draw where it would be if we need it, but I agree.
Okay.
I don't see any need for it because we're not going to change anything on the ground except driving those new piles.
Okay. I did look just to make sure there was no BVW upgrading of the bank. I got a little bit of mixed soil conditions. There's one little slight depression where I got a little bit of modeling in the surface, but I was seeing brighter soils underneath that. So it didn't look like there was any consistent hydric soil out there, and the vegetation from what's available to view with the lawn, except for a red maple tree, did not appear to be wetland vegetation. So I don't think there's any jurisdictional BVW upgradient of the bank. And just as one final note is usually note in these projects regarding Lake Mespenick as being a great pond, and just that we're unaware of the Chapter 91 licensing status of the existing dock. That's about it for the extent of my comments.
Okay. Kim, can you bring up the plan again? Okay. So am I correct in understanding that the proposed deck is going to be about 4 feet closer, basically a 4-foot extension from the existing deck toward the lake?
Yes.
It looks pretty straightforward to me. I think the one thing that we always bring up with the projects on the lake are, if there's anywhere that we can improve the buffer, for vegetation along the lake. Just to provide a little bit of stormwater treatment for runoff, as opposed to, lawn or rock area. Kim, did you see from the pictures, is that something that, is feasible in this location and might be something that we've asked for in the past on this type of project?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in this area, perhaps some mitigation plantings, perhaps, on either side of the lawn area would be appropriate, just to give us a little bit more of that buffer area, maybe a small naturalized area, something like 5 foot by 10 might be adequate. It could even have like a landscape vibe, like maybe native, non-invasive shrub plantings, and then some mulch, kind of a landscape bed, but it would give us some of those lake buffer benefits. Our chair recused himself because he's part of the lake management committee, attempting to educate landowners on the lake. There's a weed concern, and part of the contributing factors to that is nutrient runoff into the lake. So having a vegetated buffer really helps to uptake some of those nutrients before they run directly into the lake versus having lawn up to the edge. So Mr. Baldiga, if that's something that, you're willing to take on, a small area of plantings, I'm sure it's something that the commission would really appreciate.
Sure, that's not a problem.
Awesome.
Just to clarify, we purchased the house in February, but Bill and I are both into having less lawn and more natural plantings. So that's what we've had in our homes in Hopkinton so far. So it would be our expectation to reduce the amount of lawn anyway. But if you could be more clear about where you would want to see these beds, that would be very helpful for me as I try to lay out how I might design them and get them in the appropriate place. So hopefully you can provide some guidance to that so we can try to comply with what you're hoping to have us do.
I have some great guidance documents I can send you. And I'm available, at any time for any kind of recommendations or, swaps or, hey, this or that kind of questions that you have, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, does anyone else on the board commission here have any questions or comments?
Through the chair, I had one additional comment.
Okay.
The proposed access, if there's any machinery coming down that access to do the work, we recommend extending the erosion control barrier to include the access way, just in case there's any soil disturbance upslope.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good point.
Melissa, through the chair.
Yes.
Just a quick comment. I think, Ms. Baldega, your comment on eliminating lawn is the best news I've heard from a Lake Maspinock owner in a couple of years of our hearings with goings on around that property. So thank you.
Well, if I get any tomatoes, I'll let you know. But hopefully we'll have some flowers and some shrubs. That's always been a big part of our homes in Hopkinton over 30 plus years.
Such good news to hear. Thank you.
And through the chair, I'm the yellow house on Scarlotta Road, so welcome to the neighborhood.
Great. Thank you very much. You know the house well then.
Yes, I do.
All right. Is there anyone else on the call from the audience that has a comment or question? I don't see any hands. Okay. So Kim, for an RDA, I need a motion and we need to vote on this, correct?
Correct. I would suggest if you want to do a negative, finding of a -3. So that'd be a negative RDA with conditions. So we can attach our standard conditions.
Would anyone like to make that motion?
So moved.
You get a
This is
second?
Ed, I'll second it.
All right. All in favor? Oh boy, this is the hardest part. Call Janine,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed.
I think that was Ed, aye.
That was an Ed. Yep. Ted.
Ted is an I.
All right, and Carrie.
Aye.
And myself, I am an I. So you should be all set. And yeah,
And
we'll
I'll
look forward-
abstain on that.
Oh, sorry.
Awesome. Thank you, Melissa.
Yep.
And I do want to say thank you to Anna and the other staff for helping us. We didn't know what we were doing, but it's painless. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep, they're the best.
Yep.
Kim and
Thank you
Anna.
very much.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next new hearing, Goal 56 Downey Street. This is a notice of intent to demolish and rebuild a house. And I'll read this. The Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 28th, 2023 at 7. Virtually online to hear all persons interested in notice of intent filed by Rakesh Goel, 59 Mott Street LLC, to raise and replace a single-family house with associated site work. The location is 56 Downey Street, Assessors Map L37, Block 1, Lot 0. All right, do we have Maureen on the line?
Yes, I'm here tonight.
Hi, good evening. You want to kind of give us an overview of the new proposal? This
Sure
was
thing.
originally proposed as an RDA, and I think we recommended that it be refiled as an NOI.
Yes, that's correct. So a couple of requests were made at the RDA hearing that I incorporated into the plan. One of those was to increase the number of shrub plantings. So I added 3 additional shrubs to the plan, as well as incorporating perennial plants. That's also been done. So I'm looking at putting in a variety of Joe Pye weed, some iris, some swamp milkweed, and cardinal flower. So that's shown on the plan as well. We incorporated rooftop infiltration into the design. So we're proposing 2 Pultec chambers, the rear of the dwelling. Fortunately, we received a DEP file number today from central office. They had requested revision to the plan to run the silt fence and the straw wattles up to the property lines towards the roadway. That's been shown on the plan. They also provided comments regarding the path and whether or not that was going to be an alteration to the BVW. I responded to DEP with a response stating that that area is presently cleared. I took a picture of that area. So essentially, we're going to be improving this area as a whole. We're going to be putting in a number of shrub plantings. It's approximately 11 feet wide. So between the shrubs, the trees, the perennials, essentially, we're going to be improving the entire area. The path itself, we're going to do 2 to 4 stepping stones. All of that will be done by hand. There won't be any machinery, just to minimize any type of impact to the resource area or the lake. And I can open it up to the commission with any questions or concerns.
So, okay, thank you, Maureen, for that background. That all sounds great. So the black pipe, which we believe to be a foundation drain, will that be removed during construction?
So that black pipe is interesting because it does not belong to our property. I believe it's the property owner to the north. I know it was down near the lake, but there's no connection to our property. So essentially, we don't want it on our property. But I didn't go on the neighbor's property to investigate where it goes.
Okay. So let me defer to Kim and Joe. I think, the concern here is that it's on your property or your applicant's property right now, right?
I believe so. And in that pipe in the picture that's shown, I thought it was a larger pipe that we were discussing. A larger black, yeah, I thought it was a larger black pipe I saw out there.
Through the chair, I honestly thought I saw a bigger one too.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
in
I
the
think there
last
was a
hearing,
there was a previous photo of like a 2-inch like
Right.
PVC pipe, wasn't there? This looks more like a
hose.
yeah,
Like a sump pump
hose.
drain pipe, or maybe a sump pump drain pipe.
Yeah, or a foundation drain, or maybe a
A
basement.
foundation drain would be
Yeah.
a perforated 4-inch. Foundation drain would be a perforated 4-inch pipe, typically flexible.
Yeah. So I guess the point is we need to kind of, so the issue is we don't want these pipes discharging directly to the lake, Maureen.
So that's
Uh,
understood. And that's why we're incorporating Caltech chambers for the new
Yeah,
home.
yeah, but with, yeah, no, I get that. But with regard to these pipes that I think are on your property, but might be originating from your abutters. I think the commission would ask that, we kind of, figure out what's going on here as part of the construction process. I think we need to rectify it, somehow, and I'm not sure there's an answer to that tonight. But Kim, kind of what's your recommendation? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, Jeff, I agree with that. I would say if there is a pipe discharging to the applicant's property that is not originating on his property, he would have an interest in getting it out of there. And generally the commission discourages discharges directly to the lake. So it could be something that we would follow up on with abutters.
Yeah, so we don't want to hold up the application to figure this out, Maureen, but, in good faith, we would like the applicant to work with the commission on determining the origin of it. And, eliminating that discharge. And if we have to work with the abutters to figuring out other options, we can do that at a future date.
Absolutely. We're on board with resolving this. That's not a problem.
Okay.
Through the chair,
Yes,
if I
Janine.
recall correctly from the RDA meeting, didn't we talk about that it was a big pipe and we thought it was DPW?
That's what I remember, Janine.
Yeah, that was there from ages ago.
Through the chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah,
Kim.
Janine, there is also a large
Okay.
DPW drainage pipe that's kind of lower down the bank.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, so any other questions or comments from commission members?
Through the chair, I think I have one.
Yep, go ahead, Ted.
Are we saying that we cannot, we being everybody here on this call in this discussion, can do nothing about the DPW pipe? Is that off limits to us? Can we only deal with the other mystery pipes? Can anybody answer that?
I don't think the DPW pipe is the responsibility of this property owner or the application in front of us. You mean outside of this?
So it's these other mystery pipes that we can hope the applicant and the neighbors can deal with.
Right. Yeah, I think the town pipe is the town pipe and that it is what it is and it falls under the town's permits.
Okay.
I think we can make a suggestion to the DPW that they take a look at it and see if there's
Okay.
better options I'm not sure that they'll act on it or not, but you know, that's certainly something that we can do.
Okay. Thank you.
DPW is evaluating ways to improve generally stormwater quality throughout town under their MS4 permit. So it's a theme that's going to come up for the next few years. There is some other areas of town that we're working on that I will hopefully be able to bring news to you soon.
Thank you.
To the chair, if I can be given this distraction. Kim, can you explain the DPW's concern about what they're putting through their drains?
I'm not sure that the conversation is appropriate for this avenue, and then
Okay,
yeah,
no worries.
we can
Just,
certainly. I'm happy to have a conversation offline, and we can kind of go
Okay.
through what.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
forget, but you'll remind me. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, comments from the commission? Questions or comments from the public? And let me just scroll through. I don't see any hands raised.
Through the chair.
Yes, Kim.
I think so. I have a special condition in my suggestion in my notes. It may be from the Lucas letter. Do we want to consider a special condition for management of invasive species? I think there's glossy buckthorn, if I'm remembering correctly, down by the bank, just for the restoration area. Do we want to have any?
Yeah, that was a good point because there was some invasives that were identified.
Through the chair, there was.
Yep,
some-
go ahead, Joe,
Yeah,
sorry.
some Japanese knotweed too, not a lot, but some
Knotweed.
Japanese knotweed along the property lines.
So Joe, what's your suggestion there that we can add as a condition? to
Yeah,
the
I
NOI?
think we had suggested just hand removal of those and just care not to spread any of the plants around during any construction activity.
Okay, Maureen, does that sound okay to you? As a-
Sure. I mean, we can make every effort to maintain it and prevent it from spreading. I think as long as we're in that parameters, I mean, full eradication might be something that's difficult.
Yeah, I'm not sure if full eradication is the goal, but maybe, you know, we can remove it, you know, if you can consider that as part of your plan.
We'll make an effort. That's not a problem.
Okay, I think that's all we can really ask.
Through the chair, Japanese knotweed spreads by the tiniest little bit, so that if you're taking it out and you're not being careful about disposal of it, you can then spread it.
Yeah, I think Maureen's aware of that, giving her certifications. But thank you, good point, Ed. Okay, so I think we're ready to vote on this. There were no comments from the public.
Through the chair, I just had one more quick comment.
Yes, go ahead, Joe.
I just noted that there were some discrepancies on the form submitted as far as the applicant. I just want to make sure that it was straight. It's something, one thing had mentioned 159 Mott Street LLC, another 156 Mott Street LLC, and another 59 Mott Street LLC. So I just want to make sure that the correct applicant was cited.
Yep, good point. Thank you, Joe. Can we just make sure that gets all cleaned up, Maureen?
Yes, thank you, Joe. That was revised and it was sent electronically today. I don't know, dyslexic moments were happening, I think, but thank you for picking up on that.
All right.
And then the BVW forms, there was some paperwork. I think
That was also
discrepancy-
submitted as well.
Okay, great.
Okay, great. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, if I can get a motion to close and approve the NOI with the special condition regarding the invasives as noted.
Through the chair.
Yes, Kim.
Sorry, just public comment.
Yeah, I think is there any public comments I didn't see any hands raised. Okay, speak now or forever hold your peace, the public. Okay, a motion to close and approve the NOI with the special condition regarding the invasives.
I'll make that motion.
All right, Ted, and a second.
Second.
All right, and we'll do the roll call vote. Jim,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
and Jeff's and I. Okay. All right, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. All right, moving on to the continued hearings, 30 West Main, 0 Elm, and 0 West Main, an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. Do we have the applicant on the call?
Through the chair,
Yes.
the applicant emailed me a request for continuance a little ways ago, so it looks like they would like to continue tonight.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Kim. All right, the trails. Let's start with 1649, the amended notice of intent for the drainage improvements. Do we have someone on the trail from the trails on the call?
Good evening, Peter Bemis here.
Good evening, Mr. Bemis. So Kim put a little presentation together for the
It's
commission.
fantastic. So please, Kim, take it away. I'm
Kim.
impressed.
The floor is all yours.
All right, no pressure. Yeah, so Peter, if you have any comments throughout this presentation, brief comments, please feel free to jump in. You're definitely an expert, obviously, on this site. But I wanted to put together a presentation because there's been a lot of information that's come at the commission, and there's been a lot of back and forth between Peter and the commission's representative engineer, Beta Engineering. So I put together this presentation to try to kind of summarize the requested amendments that are before the commission into a format that's hopefully digestible and can help facilitate some of this conversation. So a basic overview, there's 2 notices of intent before the Conservation Commission. The first notice of intent is 1649, which is the existing notice of intent for the construction of the existing condo development. And then there's a new notice of intent, 1792, that was filed for the off-site mitigation portion. A new notice of intent needed to be filed because the work that is being proposed is not on the property, and it was out of the scope of the original notice of intent. So tonight we're just going to be discussing that first notice of intent, the existing permit, and the changes that the applicant is proposing to it. Some of these changes are already constructed in the field. I will tell you which ones when we're running through them. So just to get us all reoriented with where we're at, the red circle is showing the project site. This is Legacy Farms North Road, Wilson Street. The Hopkinton Reservoir is to the north of the site, and the town line is right here. So the site abuts the town line, kind of over here, but this is still Hopkinton, and then it kind of switches over to Ashland as you get to the reservoir area. So in general, the current phase that's open is over here. And then on the other side of this large wetland complex, we have the next phase that the applicant is going to be moving into. This is a nice little flow chart intended to show you kind of where water is moving on the site. So there's a large wetland complex that separates the 2 phases of the site. In general, the water moves from the south to the north, all towards the Hopkinton Reservoir. So you can see this central wetland complex. There's 3 large basins at the site that serve as the main stormwater infrastructure. So we have Basin 1, which generally takes the flow from this area over here. Basin 2, which generally takes flow from this area here. This green line is intended to show you kind of the split between the watersheds. And then we have basin 3, which will collect stormwater from this area over here when it is constructed. And then you can kind of see my little purple arrows showing the street drainage going into each basin. Flow from the area, it's kind of the topographically highest area. This is going to be a future dog park area. It runs down the slope. There's a channel here. And then this is a constructed infiltration swale here, and then another one here. We'll get into talking about those. As you can see near basin 1, it flows off the stormwater flows off of the slope here, runs down the driveway to the town of Ashland water treatment plant, and then kind of curves, continues down Howe Street, and then discharges to the reservoir. So this area, this train was the main area where we had the violations in the summer of 2021, just so you kind of understand the flow coming off of basin 1 as it currently stands. So now I'm going to move into the proposed amendments to the existing permit. So the first amendment is a constructed wetland. It's located behind Bandon Lane. This constructed wetland is already made in the field. The approved plan shows an outfall with riprap, which is located just outside of the 50-foot no disturb. And in the as-built condition, we have the constructed wetland area. It is still located just outside of the 50-foot no disturb buffer. I think the pipe ended up being a little bit shorter than originally planned. This area does have a sediment forebay. It has been added to the operations and maintenance plan. It is primarily vegetated with cattail currently, and Beta has reviewed and approved it. The second proposed amendment is a constructed infiltration basin, generally behind units 53 to 59 Weston. I'll show you, that's this area right here. This is the infiltration basin we're talking about. So as I said, it's already constructed. The original plan was kind of a grassed sloped area. This basin kind of collects the flow and directs it away from Wilson Street. So it provides additional infiltration. It was added to the operations and maintenance plan, and Beta did review and approve it. And some of the units, I understand that some of the units on Weston Lane here, the roof runoff is also discharging to this infiltration basin at this point. So the next proposed amendment is modifications to basin number 1. So the basin is obviously it's constructed, but no modifications have been completed yet. The proposal is to increase the storage volume by providing approximately an additional 4-foot depth or 4-foot excavation of the existing basin. In addition, the outlet control structure and the emergency spillway is going to be redirected. So currently, I was showing you that treatment train. It kind of runs to the north down this big slope. Stormwater runs down the town of Ashland wastewater lagoon property and then into that treatment train where it makes that sharp turn and then ends up in the Hopkinton Reservoir. So under the proposal, the outlet control structure and the spillway would be redirected to the east, where it would be directed towards the existing wetland system. Let me go back to the treatment. So it would enter this area and then flow this way, where it would go under Howe Street and into the reservoir. Instead of kind of taking this weird turn and then going where the treatment plant is, it would be redirected this way towards the wetlands and then go out a large culvert under Howe Street into the reservoir via that direction. It does require additional riprap apron and additional inclusion into the 50-foot no disturbs. As you can see, it's between 50 and 25 feet of between the 50 and 25 foot to the edge of the resource area. There's a riprap outlet. So there would be additional buffer zone impacts, removal of vegetation in that area.
Kim, can I just interject real quick?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. So for basin one here, this is one that, Kim and I had talked about whether the 4-foot, depth for the storage volume was necessary, whether the outflow modifications, resulting in the additional buffer zone disturbance was necessary. And this is something that, the town of Ashland is really pushing to get implemented. So it may not be ideal from a commission standpoint, but I just want to put the caveat, and the footnote in here that this is something that Ashland is really pushing to get implemented at the site. And go ahead, Kim. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. That's my understanding as well, is that their peer reviewer is looking for that additional volume, and this is a good spot to put it. Beta has made some statements in previous meetings that they did have some concerns about this work, that there's an impermeable core under this basin, which prevents breakout from the wall over here. It's a riprap wall or kind of slope. So there's a little bit of concern about what's going to happen with the additional excavation. The retrofit and reconstruction, it is a significant construction event, and there's already, homes around this area. And there could be significant maintenance for the HOA in the future. And, we're, based on observations, there has been some concerns over, how well this basin is infiltrating. So yeah, that being said, as Jeff said, we're looking for highest and best practicable. So take what you will from it. We can kind of discuss. Next amendment is a modification to Basin 2. Basin 2 was observed to be not infiltrating, and the applicant has proposed to modify Basin 2 into a wet basin, constructed wetland basin, per the MADEP stormwater guidelines, which is going to provide water quality improvement, but obviously we won't get that infiltration capacity. And Beta has reviewed and approved this as well, the design. There is also a proposed modification to Basin 3 to enlarge the basin and similarly increase the depth to provide the additional volume capacity. And then again, that additional depth and volume requires an expansion of the riprap apron. This one's not into the 50, but it's within the 100, the 50 to 100. The applicant has offered, we requested that he look into LID measures. And so additionally, EDC and the applicant has offered a roof drain infiltration trench. And this feature is not yet constructed, but it's a Coltech system and it accepts roof runoff from the adjacent units. One thing that was unclear to me was if it was also accepting foundation runoff. So we can have a small conversation about that. And then again, Beta reviewed and Beta recommends approval in this case. Some additional items are under consideration by the planning board as well. I just wanted to give everybody a heads up on this. There's going to be a small reconfiguration of the parking area at the trailhead. And a retaining wall has been replaced with a seated slope. And a second retaining wall, the one in proximity to Basin 1, there was supposed to be additional reconstruction, as I understand, and instead the applicant has built their wall on top of a wall that's owned by the town of Ashland. So the planning board is kind of evaluating that. And then there's some sidewalk modifications at the clubhouse area. So that is the end of my presentation. I'd pass it back to you, Jeff, for any questions or comments or review with Peter.
No, thank you.
Hopefully that presentation helped.
That was exceptional, Kim. That was very helpful. It was a great overview. And I think it gets everyone up to speed on where we're at. So thank you for putting that together. So there was the clarification. I'll start off, Kim, with the roof drain infrastructure that you wanted from Mr. Bemis, whether the foundation drains and the roof runoff was connected. So can we, does that capture what your request was, Kim?
Yeah, I mean, I think Beta asked that question, and then Peter, you responded that it does not also accept the foundation drain, but then you said both of those things are combined in one pipe. So I was still a little confused as to how those would be separated.
Right. So at each house, and in particular, the ones that are going to be contributing to this area where we put the drainage in, the roof drains and the foundation drains are separate as they leave each dwelling. However, this being a downhill feature for this limited area, there is a combination of flow that will get there from a certain unit. So there's 2 duplexes, and then there are 3 singles that start to form when you get to the northwest side of Bandon Lane. The other homes that are there that you can see from the sketch that front on Weston Lane, only the roof drains would be contributing from that point forward. So the other 2 singles and then 2 duplexes, just their roof drains would be coming in because their foundations are lower and are being tied into the closed system.
So just for clarification, so
Sure.
when you're saying contributing, I guess, are they mechanically piped together?
After they leave the dwelling, yes. So they're not connected. So in other words, the roof drains don't drop to the foundation drains anywhere in the whole project. So what they do is they combine away from the house. So let's just say 5-10 feet away, depending on what the circumstances are. Then
How do
would drop-
how do they combine? I guess
There's
is the-
it directly a connection. So they're using HDP pipe 4-inch. It's a
okay,
flex
so
pipe.
Mechanical
Mechanical
combined.
connection, yes, yeah.
Okay,
Yep. So in the foundations here, we don't have we don't have a groundwater problem with any of these units, and we don't experience a groundwater condition with these sites. So we are making a connection because it's required under the building code, but I'm not anticipating a great deal of water coming from these foundations. I'm getting the roof water, yes. That's
Okay,
why we
so-
keep them separate.
so in the as-built plan, will those mechanical connections be specifically identified for the individual units?
We put together an exhibit to show that already, and that did illustrate how they leave each dwelling. In the case of this area here, all those drain lines that you see for those units that are shown on this exhibit, and Kim is taken a cut of that and put it here. Those 2 duplexes and those 3 singles, that is a combination of foundation and roof drain. The
Okay.
next 2 singles
Okay,
are.
I can't
just roof-
read the plan. It's too small, but your
Okay.
answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right, very good.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So before I open it up to the other commission members for comments and questions, and I think specifically, our stormwater experts are Melissa and Carrie. So, I'm really looking kind of for your input on this, but I do want to emphasize that Beta has reviewed, all of these amendments, and installed features that have been put in at the site. They have deemed them constructible and that they meet the Mass Stormwater standards. So it's not a question of whether they don't meet the standards, they do. But having said that, let me open it up to the other commission members for comments and questions.
So through the chair, I guess
Yes,
what kind of stuck out to me is I guess some of the concerns Beta has on the modification to Basin 1, specifically the impermeable core potentially compromised. So what could happen as a result?
If I can answer that, Mr. Chairman, so
Yes, sir.
Kim characterized it a little bit off, and she did a great job, so don't get me wrong, Kim. We've already constructed that basin to the depth that it is constructed at. So the core, and that's why Beta didn't want us to alter it further. So in other words, when we built that and we set the core in place, it's a function of what is there today. We are going to expand it on the south side, because you can see there's a slight expansion to the south, but the north edge is still staying where it is. We constructed it lower than what the original basin had called for, because we were trying to provide more volume. The one thing that I can state to you emphatically is that this project originally designed versus what is constructed and will be constructed when we're done, there's about 100% more volume in processing stormwater capacity than was originally designed for the site. That is a fact. So the combination of all these improvements has vastly improved the stormwater handling capability of the trails. So when we met with Beta, we originally had proposed to expand Basin 1 significantly. They were concerned about doing that expansion because it could potentially compromise the core. And we agreed with them. We didn't want to have to do the work, but we were trying to offer as many things as we could to facilitate matters with Ashland.
So has
Ashland-
that, so, yeah, got it. Okay, thank you. So has that modification with the additional excavation of the 4 feet already been done? Is that our?
Yes, sir. That's right. That's what you
Okay.
see today. When you go there, that's what you see. We're only going to be keeping that same bottom. We're not
So
changing.
what-
the bottom.
So, okay, so what would be it's basically the outfall modification that you're proposing?
That's right. That's right. So instead of discharging to the north and going down the lagoon driveway swale, we're going to go to the east, as Kim had outlined, with a
Got
new
it.
discharge
Okay.
point. and
Understood.
we're closing
Got it.
off the
Yep.
northern route.
Yep. Okay. So there's
And that'll
no.
keep the
there's
core
no
in
ba-
place too,
so
going
there's
to the
no
north.
Basin. So with the basin itself, nothing is going to be reconstructed there. That's done.
The north side, there'll be no changes. It's only on the east and the south.
So on the east, what's going to be changed there?
The outfall that you see there, and then on the south, it's the access road. That's right where the cursor is. You can see how the access road is going to push a bit more south.
Yeah,
Those are the two changes that you'll see in the field. So when you go out to the sewer pump station,
so
and you
what,
see
so,
the
yeah, so on the
mechanical-
south side, what exactly is going to be done there? Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm clear on this.
right, when you come to where you'd see the control panel and the pump station at the end of Weston Lane, as you drive down there, today, there's just a sharp embankment closer to the basin. This is going to fan out a bit more, so it's more straight as you come in, so we can get down to the new outlet control structure location.
Okay. 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 So, so that bank is going to be expanded, basically.
Right, I think we've got about
Or not bank, but the retaining wall there, or what?
the edge of that embankment, right? And I was going to say the capacity of the basin expands. I want to say about 20%. It's not a substantial amount, but it does afford again, the processing capacity of the basin improves with this proposal. There's a new outlet control structure. Everything is new.
Got it. Okay. Kim, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, Janine.
No.
I don't know if you have another
And
question.
so that's the answer to your question, is that we will not be compromising the core. That was important debate. Beta, GCG is the other peer review consultant, because they were the one looking for us to expand the basin even further. They backed off as well, because it did not make sense to change the dynamics of the core. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think, Mr. Bemis, I don't know, is Mr. Gately on the call tonight too, or no?
I think he is.
Let me just scroll through. I don't think I saw it. No, he's not on. So
Okay.
what, I think one of the things we would like to do is make sure that the modifications to this basin are completed before the structures of phase 2 of the project are started. I think that would be a condition that, you know, I'm recommending to the commission. And I want to run that by you for your thoughts.
Sure. You mean, so Kim's presentation made it into 2 phases, but that's technically phase 4. But I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you're asking for.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's another phase with the building construction, right? That
Right.
Kim is highlighting there. So before those housing features, those housing construction starts, we would like that basin, those basin modifications to be completed.
I have no problem with the concept of that. I would ask, with due respect, to allow us to at least start, because we want to break ground on that phase 4. We've been holding off because it didn't make sense up to this point to get all
Well,
of this.
you can break ground, but we're
Thank you.
saying there's not going to be any
Structures.
housing
Yes, sir.
starts.
Okay, that, Mr. Chairman, that is a respectful request.
So you can break
would honor that.
ground, and there's another basin related to the next phase that needs to be constructed, right?
Yes, sir. That's a primary task. That's
Yeah,
first
so-
order
so
of
I-
magnitude task. Yep.
So I think what I would suggest or recommend to the commission is that the modifications to that basin 3 be constructed as appropriate, and the modifications to basin 1 be completed before the new housing starts for the new phase are approved.
I understand the request.
So you can break ground for the new phase. You know, you can do your site work, but there won't be any housing starts until those stormwater features are constructed and functional.
Understood.
Carrie, Melissa, what do you think about that? Does that make sense to you guys? And if you have any other comments, feel free to jump in for sure.
Yeah, is it safe to assume, because basin 1 is the one that was holding water but needs to be cleaned out and refinished, right? Or at least the sediment basin.
It's a holding cell, and we've been using flock blocks now for the better part of a couple of years. And I cleaned it out once already, and it went right back to being, highly permeable. But again, after another year of flock blocks, and there's probably 6 of them in there, it does clog the surface. So it does infiltrate, but it just takes longer. So we don't let any water come out of that basin. That's always holding. So yes, I do need to reconstruct it. And honestly, as soon as I get these last couple of units done in phase 3, then I'd be happy to go in there and do the work. I just didn't want to compromise it a 3rd time. We've already compromised it twice. I don't want to do it 3 times.
Yeah, presumably when phase 3 is all built out and the modifications to basin 1 are complete, that will be functioning properly.
That's exactly right. Yes, Mr. Chairman. That's what we want to have happen. And we don't want to have to clean it again.
So the sequence of work, or the phasing of work, is finish the buildings in the current phase, stabilize the site, then go in, make the modifications and clean up basin 1.
Right.
While you're breaking ground on the final phase of the road.
Right. That's why I was saying the concern I had was that we should be able to start phase 4, but we will not start any housing starts in phase 4 until this work is complete. That works for me. It's just that I don't want to start Basin 1's work until we have the site substantially stabilized. Fortunately, we're coming into that season to be able to do that. So this is all coming together at the right moment. Thank goodness.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement on that. So
Okay.
how many more housing units do we have for phase 3? There's only like 4 or 5 left, right?
I was going to say 5, I believe, Mr. Chairman, exactly 5.
Yep. So, and Kim, are those still being held back or have they been approved?
I believe they're being held back. I haven't had a request in a while.
Well,
So I'm throwing this out for the commission to consider. I see kind of the progression going forward as we release the remaining housing units. Basin 1 is rehabituated. That's step 2. In parallel with the other housing units being approved. Step 3 would be the phase 4 approval for site prep. And as part of that site prep, Basin 3 is going to be constructed and functional before the next progression, which would be approval of the housing unit construction. Kim, does that sound reasonable to you?
Yeah, if the Hopkinton, if the special conditions that we still use today were in use when these permits were written, the condition should already be written into the permit that the stormwater needs to be constructed before the housing units. So theoretically, the applicant would be required to construct Basin 3 before putting
As
any
designed.
foundations in, as the permit stands. Yeah.
Right. And that hasn't really been happening historically at the site. So that's why we just want to emphasize that.
I think the other thing would be, because I assume this is all, so the previous underlying, what's the phasing for this next phase for clearing? Because that's something that we've run into issues again and again and again, regardless of whether the basin's built.
Yeah, good point, Melissa. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure, we're going to do this in a phase because I don't want to clear it as well. So believe me, we'll learn from our mistakes. We were going to come in, I'm pretty confident we're going to come in on the east. So we would just come in, go straight line along the eastern flank and down to the basin. So that we'd be just clearing that eastern corridor, and the western corridor would be left intact. I just need a staging area, portion of the central area would be also cleared. But for the most part, we're just trying to make a line going in from the side. The erosion control measures are going to go across the whole site. We've already talked to S&M Farms to put in the ECB around the entire perimeter of the project.
Is that part of the application here that we're approving as phasing plan? Like, do we have is there a phasing plan that exists?
We didn't give you
That
that.
describes it? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we're
So,
we're not approving that tonight. Melissa, it's more kind of a conceptual progression for the project that we're asking the applicant to agree to. I think when they start the next phase, and Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a construction sequence that they need to go through. Basically, as if they were starting a new subdivision project, right, Kim?
I would like to see that. I think it can be requested. Yeah. I'm not sure that the original permits got into that much detail, but certainly for this number of housing units, it seems within the realm of reasonability to request that the applicant put some consideration into construction sequencing.
I'm just thinking, so we're approved, so we're gonna be asked to approve the notice of intent for this project, a new or revised, I forget,
Amendments, an amended.
an
notice of
amended
intent.
notice of intent.
For the
So the
drainage-
original notice of intent didn't necessarily say anything about phasing construction at all, right?
It did, but it considered this entire phase to be one. It only broke up the project into 4 chunks. So this area
Okay.
over here was 3 different chunks, and this was the 4th. The applicant kind of ran into trouble when the applicant kind of considered, combined 1, 2, and 3 over here. So the original permit didn't really go beyond saying 1, 2, 3, 4. But yeah, I think where you're going with this is we do have the permit open at this point.
Right, so I'm thinking as part of the amendment or a condition to approving the amendment might be that the applicant provide before, prior to construction on this final phase, a construction phasing plan be submitted or a clearing plan or something to the commission for approval or review and approval. I mean, I don't think we need it right this second, but I think before
I think that's a
we
great
can
point.
proceed with construction, we put that condition in place.
That's a great point, Melissa. I like that. And given that the slopes on the property where they're doing the next phase aren't as steep as the current phase, they're still pretty steep, right, Kim? So I think it's just prudent to work with the applicant on a sequencing plan where we're not going to run into the same issues going forward. Mr. Bemis, are you okay with that?
I'm very, very much okay. The intent was to provide you with that. No question.
Okay, and I think we can work together as a team on this going forward.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good recommendation, Melissa.
Chair,
Yep, go ahead, Carrie.
and along, I guess with that, of kind of this phasing, I think Kim and the staff, would they go out and inspect the erosion sediment controls before any of the phasing would happen, like another pre-con meeting, or was that just one for the entire project?
No, there's a pre-con meeting. I anticipated that as well.
So I think this, the condition of approving this amended notice of intent would be, a pre-construction meeting for phase 4. And a construction phasing plan for phase 4 that the applicant works with the commission staff on. I don't think we're gonna nail it down tonight, but I want to move this forward. We'll put that as a condition and in good faith, that the applicant will work with Kim and Lucas and our engineering consultant on the phasing plan going forward. Kim, does that sound reasonable to you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Through the chair, may I ask a question?
Yes, Ted, go ahead.
I just want to make sure I understood all that. All of those pre-meetings need to happen before any groundbreaking of any kind on phase 4, right?
Correct.
Great. Okay. I just wanted to be sure of that. Thanks.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
So it was a week ago or so, and we had the rainy snowstorm that turned into be mostly a rainstorm. And things were pretty crazy at one place. And I went by and looked at House Street, and I looked at the flow alongside House Street, and the flow that went into the reservoir, and I was pretty pleased with what I saw. I just wanted that on record.
Thank you, Ed. Yeah, I've also, there's been good strides made here and a good effort with the applicant to address the concerns of the commission. So, I echo that. Okay, so are there any questions or comments from audience members at this point? Okay. All right, if I can get a motion to close and approve the amended notice of intent for the drainage improvements for the trails, which is 188-16-49, with the special conditions of the pre-construction meeting for phase 4 and the construction phasing plan be submitted for phase 4 prior to any site work.
So moved.
Do we need to add the condition about basin 1 modifications being completed before building permits?
Yes.
Or
we did.
before, not building permit, before, yeah, I guess building
Yep.
permits are issued.
Yep, thank you for that clarification, Melissa. So basin 1 will also need to be constructed prior to the next phase being implemented.
Well, I'll make that motion as you guys just amended it.
Okay, thank you, Jim. In a second.
Second, Janine.
All right, Jean, and we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, great.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bemis. So with regard to the other application, I think we'll just, if we can push that off to the next meeting, if
Yep,
that's
that's
okay with
fine.
you.
I'm good with that. Yep.
Okay, so if I can get a motion to continue the trails notice of intent, 188-1792 to the next meeting, which is April 11th.
So moved.
And a second,
Second.
and we'll do the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Bemis. Have a good evening.
I'm good. The only
Thanks
other
for
thing
working
was
with
just,
us on this.
no, thank you. I was just gonna ask for the unit releases, if we could either do a formal vote or just ask Kim to do that, because I need to get those units done as soon as possible, so.
Yeah,
that's-
I think Kim has discretion to release those, so we don't need
Thank
to
you.
vote on it.
All right, Kim, I'll be in touch in the morning. Thank you very much for your PowerPoint. You did a great job. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay, good night.
Okay, so Turkey Hill Estates. Kim, did you just want to give us an update on where we're at there? And I know a few folks went out to the site visit this past weekend with the planning board.
Yeah, absolutely. So Anna and I went out this morning. Take a look. No PowerPoint for this one this week. Sorry. I ran out of PowerPoint time. But Anna and I were out this morning and doing an inspection, and the site, I think some of you saw this weekend, the site, there's been major improvements at the site. So this is the kind of open space area to the west of the lower detention pond. So it's been stabilized and hydro seeded. This is the lower detention pond, the access road. Here's another image of the lower detention pond. It's been surrounded with jute matting to stabilize it and then hydro seeded. I meant to ask Shane, I think I'll see if he can send me the seed mix, just curiosity. And as you can see, it's holding some water. It is final grading, with the exception of this access here, and that the applicant is retaining so that they could do any modifications on the way out that they need to do. This is the upper pond, which is still under construction, but is starting to take form. It is being periodically pumped so that it can be constructed. The contractor has made a temporary detention pond kind of north of both of the existing basins and within lots 1 and 2, and it is working like a charm. So this basin is being dewatered to that temporary detention here. So today they're installing the overflow structure, and then you can see the side of the pond here this is where that breach had occurred on March 14th. So this has been shored up. Here's a look of the swale that's to the north of lots 1 and 2 are here. That's that temporary detention pond. And here's the swale with some check dams that are also working quite well. There's another view of the swale. And here's that temporary detention area. As you can see, it is holding quite a bit of water. So this is the bottom of the lower basin where we have had the original breach and the subsequent breach. I just wanted to get down there to make sure there wasn't any kind of flow breaking out. There was a small bit of flow running in this area, but nothing too concerning. So that's kind of my summary. Overall, like I said, the site is looking much better, and I think that upper temporary detention is going to help a lot. I know that the contractor is anticipating having this upper basin done this week, and then is going to be looking for me to be lifting the cease and desist, which I will probably feel comfortable moving towards unless the commission has any major concerns once I see this basin at final grading and with stabilization with loam and jute matting. I think Shane is on the call tonight. So if you want to add anything on.
I think I'm good. I think you've summed it up pretty good. And thanks everyone for coming out on Saturday. It was great to meet you guys in actual person and walk the site. But yeah, we're fully anticipating finishing this other basin this week and having it stabilized with jute netting. Don't know if we're going to get to spraying it this week, but certainly we'll have everything stabilized. At that point, you know, Kim, as we were talking, it's looking at kind of finishing the rest of the phase 2 portion, which would be cistern and the retaining wall up along Honeybee Pass, and loaming and seeding the rest of the open areas.
Great, thank you, Shane. These are, you know, as Kim had mentioned, significant improvements. Thank you for your efforts. I know it's been a little bit of a challenge, or a big challenge, but you know, I'm comfortable with Kim rescinding the cease and desist if she's comfortable with the improvements this week at the site. And I'll open it up to the other commission members for their comments.
This is Ed, the chair. So the 2 times I've been there, I have had a chance to chat with Tom, who I guess we would call, and Shane can correct me if I'm wrong, the contractor at the moment. And I've been very impressed with the guy. He has a good head on his shoulders, has a good sense of what he's doing. And I think the success that we see is because of Tom. Thank you.
And Kim did tally the fines for the most recent violation, and I would make a recommendation to the commission that we just hold those in abeyance at this point. Any other questions, comments from the commission members?
I would agree with that, Jeff. Being out on the site walk, I appreciated the opportunity to go out there and get the tour. And it looks like a lot of progress has been made, so appreciated.
All right, if I get a motion to hold the new fines from March 14th in abeyance.
So moved.
And a second, please.
I'll second.
Is there any
Melissa.
discussion? Okay, we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, all right, great. Thank you, Shane. Appreciate
Through
the
the chair.
efforts. Yes, Kim.
I just wanted to give a PSA to Shane. So you just heard us talk about sequencing with that other job site and about how essential it is. So, as we move towards lifting the cease and desist, I would just continue to encourage you to give great care and thought to construction sequencing as you kind of move through the rest of the project. This temporary detention area is on lots 1 and 2 is doing you great and wonderful favors. So, I was even talking to Anthony today saying maybe it's something you could consider keeping half of it and, switching between, lot 1 or lot 2. And I know that you have the house lot all the way up the slope in the back cleared. So I guess we would encourage you to continue to think about how to best utilize the site moving forward to keep things, as good as possible and just be mindful.
Yeah, the plan is we're going to get once we get that second pond built, the swell, everything complete, slowly see how that, that handles the rainwater, handles the system, and we'll definitely keep that in mind for sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you, Shane, and that was a great recommendation, Kim. Okay, so moving along, Kim, any public forum requests?
We don't have any public forum requests, but I do have something from the agent I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
So just to bring you guys up to date on remote meetings. So last week we voted to end the remote meetings because the law that facilitated them was running out of time. It looks like this week the update is that the legislature is likely to pass facilitating remote meetings through 2025. So I just wanted to put that out there that we cannot do it on April 11th, but it is once again a possibility if that's something that the commission wanted to think about.
That's funny.
I mean, for Kim and Anna who have to commute, for the meetings and then, shut it down afterwards and then drive home and not getting to spend a lot of time with the kids during the day, for the meetings. I'm supportive of, continuing with the remote meetings. It's very convenient, for consultants, for Kim, for Anna. But, those are my thoughts, and I'll open it up to the other commission members for your input.
This is Jim, I'm good with that.
Through the chair, this is Ed. I wish we could do I can forget what the technical word is, but a mixed one. I find looking at drawings on my little computer screen difficult. Maybe if the town would buy me a nice big fat monitor, I wouldn't mind so much.
So what's better for Anna and Kim? In person or remote? What's better for you guys?
I'll speak up. So for me personally, remote it's a lot better just in terms of getting home. And I was telling Jeff, if we don't do remote, I don't get to see my son at all, which is kind of sad. He's asleep when I go to work and he's asleep when I get home. That being said, yeah, and I know that I'll speak up for Jeff. I'm sorry, for Joe. Joe's coming from New Hampshire. So in terms of efficiency for that as well, I think it works out better for, our consultants who are representing the commission. But, you know, I do work for you guys. So if you guys want to be back in person, that's certainly something that I can accommodate. But if you were asking my preference, it would probably be remote.
Anna, you too?
I'll take care of my baby. Clean it up.
Yeah, I mean,
Kim's not trying to make us feel guilty at all.
I have definitely enjoyed the hybrid meetings. I mean, the remote meetings, but again, we work for you. So whatever is best for you guys is what we will do.
I mean, maybe can we do this, guys, like during the summer, can we kind of sprinkle in a couple like live meetings, you know, perhaps, you know, keep it remote, but sprinkle in some live meetings, you know, here and there so we can get together and you know, interact, you know, as a group, maybe that make.
I was gonna say, Jeff, can I just point out to the other members, the plans are always available. If you know you want to go in, Kim, Anna you can look at the full set of plans. I know it's not the same thing as sitting here, but if you know something's coming up, you might be able to go in the office and take a look at the plans.
And that was the question I was about to ask. If there would be a way to make that really clear that they're available and where they're available and when they're available, et cetera.
Ed, if you want your own set of plans too, that's something that we can ask the applicant to provide, certainly. I can revise our submission requirements so that you can get your own set of paper plans.
But we can always, Kim, we can always come into the office and review the plans too, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, I hate to waste paper. You know, I like to reuse, recycle, and so I don't want to. Yeah, sorry, Jim, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was going to say, if there's ever a time where it's simply one sheet of a site plan, and I would like it, I could ask Kim, Anna, to get me a copy of it, and I don't think that'd be a problem. So anybody could do that probably. But I wouldn't order a whole set of seaside drawings or something like that. That would be unfair.
And typically right now, how staffing levels are is either Kim or I or both of us are there every day except for Wednesdays right now. So, and Wednesdays we could definitely, if somebody could only come in on a Wednesday, if you gave us a heads up, we could leave it out with other staff in the land use office as well.
Okay, so why don't we continue with remote meetings? You know, and the next one obviously has to be live, you know, because we already had to post it, but we'll continue with the remote meetings. And then maybe this summer we can, you know, at Kim and Anna's discretion, you know, maybe for the shorter meetings, we can do them live. If that sounds okay to everyone.
So April 11th meeting, we are in person at the senior center?
Yeah.
Or no? We are?
Yes.
We have to be. Okay.
And then obviously too, it's dependent on that legislature getting passed as well. So if for some reason there's a holdup and they don't pass it right away, we may have to continue until that gets passed. But I believe everything we've been reading is it should be signed this week.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, anything else, Kim, Anna?
That's it.
All right, one more time for my shameless plug for the trash collection for this weekend. If you're interested, you know, just email me and I'll let you know. Don't feel obligated, of course, but, you know, we're looking for help, so keep Hopkinton beautiful.
Jeff, may I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
When will you know about a cancellation Saturday? Because I'd like to help, but I have a Saturday obligation. But if it moves to Sunday, I'm all over it. So
I'm
when would I
going-
know? How would I know?
Yeah, we're getting together on Thursday, so I'll let you know, Ted.
Just an email or something, or should I
Yeah,
be
I'll shoot you an
scouring the
email.
independent?
There'll be a notice in the, you know, we'll put kind of a, you know, a notice out if it's getting postponed to Sunday, so it'll be in the Independent or Hop News. Otherwise I'll email you, but
Okay.
I think
I'd
right now
appreciate
it's scattered showers on Saturday, so we're still shooting for Saturday.
Okay.
But yeah.
If it
love-
moves, let me know because I'll definitely join.
Okay, appreciate that. Sounds good.
I missed it. Is this the cleanup for the lake?
Whole
No,
town.
so, no, the lake is, they're doing the lake cleanup too on the same day, but this is separate from that.
The town cleanup? That's the 8th.
I
So
think
there's,
Carrie missed the first, yeah, she didn't get the intro.
yeah, so
Sorry.
the Lake Maspinock cleanup is the same day. But this is kind of the town-wide, like the major roads in town where all the litter is that we're trying to clean up.
That yellow bag day, y'all?
Yeah, the yellow bag day.
That was the 8th.
What's that?
I thought that was April 8th. Do I have the date?
Is that what, was that the date on the notice?
I think it was the first. Well,
April
Yeah.
Fool's Day joke, it's really the 8th.
But it was originally the 8th and then we changed it to the 1st because the 8th was Easter weekend.
that's
Okay,
right.
I think I read first in the paper because my mind immediately went to.
Ooh, I see April 8th.
Really?
Well,
Where
I
do you-
looked at,
Where do you see that,
like some of
Janine?
the time. Yeah, I see it. That says April 8th.
On the Hopkinton Independent?
Well, no, in Facebook on like one of the Hopkinton groups.
Yeah, like the Green Committee group, the flyer.
I don't know how that got out. Okay.
Look, I think if somebody has to do is say something once and it becomes the truth for everybody else.
So we have a failure of communication here.
Yeah, like
It sounds-
Sustainable Hopkinton posted it in the flyer that they posted that says April 8th.
I'm pretty
Um,
sure the paper said the first though, Jeff, so you might have 2 days now.
Okay, yeah, we might have to do it 2 days then.
I thought it was the 8th. I shared it with the scouts and I was like, oh, that's close to the marathon Monday. That's why they did it that day.
I was
Oh my
going to say
gosh.
Lake Maspinock Preservation Association said the first for both.
Oh.
Yeah, that was,
So
Looks like if
anyways,
you
it's-
changed
it's-
it, I have a feeling these old postings just nobody just ever reposted the new date.
The Lake
Yeah, it
Maspinock
was-
one was only posted 5 days ago.
Yeah, it was definitely the first, that it's scheduled
so
for.
do you need to get the word out on Facebook that it's the first?
Yeah,
Do you need to-
what group
Oh,
was
Facebook.
that? What group was that, Carrie? So I can just email them.
Hopkins Sustainable Green Committee. So that's-
Okay, all
Oh, that's who used to do it. Yeah.
right, I'm not on Facebook, but I'll reach out to them.
So I mean, I can respond in the groups that I saw posted in that it's now the first.
Okay, that'd be great, Janine. Thank you. Okay. All right, well, have a good evening, everyone.
Thank
Wait,
you all. I hope.
You need a
Saturday.
motion.
Oh, yeah, we need a motion to adjourn the meeting. Sorry.
I'll make that motion.
All right, in a second.
I'll second.
All right, Melissa,
Hi.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is and I.
Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
All right.
and Dom and I. All right, guys, thanks. Have a great night.
Good night.
Bye,
Good night,
everybody.
everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Okay, bye.